This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Deja Shade. A huge shout out to Deja Shade for supporting the channel. Arabelle Roar of the World along with Kaheera the Orphanguard versus Kalitas Traitor of Ghet. And we've opted to keep this one because we've got 3 cheap cats that we can go for. Eager to get into this one because it has double strike. And Viscerous Seer coming down for our opponent on turn 1. Is this a tap land? No, it isn't. Don't know if we've got any tap lands in this deck actually. Anyway, let's go for the Unclaimed Territory, obviously naming cat in the cat tribal. And we'll go for the Leonin Elder, which you actually gain more life with than you might realise. Every time an artifact enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. And then it's a Bloodghast. That's a nice combination of cards. Luckily this one can't block, and they realise that, so they're just going for the Scry. They're obviously eager to get into something. They've only got 3 cards in hand, so they must have had to mulligan down quite a ways. Alright, open the Armory is curious. So that's probably a turn 3 play. And then we can go for a play and equip onto Ghet. So let's go for the Cavern of Souls here, and we'll name cat again. Then let's swing in with Leonin Elder before we cast anything else. Then we'll get down the Adorned Pouncer. I like the idea of swinging in with that because of the double strike, like I said. Now a Field of Ruin from our opponent is going to bring back the Bloodghast, and they sacrifice it again for a Scry. So I'm wondering if they're just eager to make lands at this point. Okay, they're going for Field of Ruin. So maybe it's black mana specifically that they're interested in. We don't really care about Cavern of Souls or any lands in particular that we have in play, because we've got 2 lands in hand, thankfully. Then when that land comes back into play from Field of Ruin, it replaces itself, don't forget. That brings back the Bloodghast, and then they play with the black mana that came in untapped, a Knight of Ebon Legion, which we will encourage them to block with in a minute. And there's a really good one, Stalking Leonin, so even if our opponent does manage to get us into the mid to late game, we should be able to shut them down quite nicely with a Lightning Greaves and a Stalking Leonin, assuming that they want to attack him for the victory anyway. Now it's +3/+3 onto the Pouncer, and we'll try and get 8 points of damage on our opponent. I don't mind them blocking with either creature here, to be honest. They decide not to block, so we get 8 points of damage on them, and we will go for the Open the Armory. Go in for the Ghet, and then I'll hold up mana, going for a tap land with the Foothills most likely. Now deciding to swing in with Bloodghast because it can't block, so they might as well try and encourage us to get rid of our Leonin Elder. And then in response going for +3/+3 and Death Touch on that thing. So seemingly trying to outrace us. We'll just take a hit for 6. And then they sacrifice the Bloodghast for yet another Scry with the Viscerous Seer. And then deciding to play a land from their hand. They've got 2 cards in hand, so we'll have to see if they've got a 1-drop. Apparently not. And then at the beginning of your end step, if an opponent lost 4 or more life this turn, a plus counter goes on that. That's fine. Prowling Serpapard for us. I think the Ghet is going to do us a lot of good here because of the double strike. So we'll get first strike damage off first. Yeah, and then we'll... yeah, if they block the Adorned Pouncer, we only get 1 set of counters on the Ghet. But if we get through with this thing, then we'll actually get 2 sets of counters on it. So let's try and encourage our opponent to block the Leonin Elder. We'll put the buff on here and we'll swing in with this. They can only block with 1 creature, so there's no chance of us losing the Adorned Pouncer. Alright, and they actually blocked the way we wanted them to there. We want them to block Viscerous Seer on this thing, and they did. They sacrificed it in response, so now we get 4 counters on the Ghet, meaning we can deal with this thing. So let's just get rid of it now while we've got the chance, because they can buff it next turn. And I don't want them to hold it back as a good blocker. I want to be able to get as much damage through as we can in an aggro deck. And don't forget the Bloodghast can't block, so we don't really need to worry about that. Now a Rotting Regisaur on our opponent's turn, a 7/6. And you have to discard a card at the beginning of your upkeep. That might be difficult to swing into then. Take hit for 2 from the Bloodghast. Might be time for Stalking Leonin if they want to swing in with this. But we get into Swords to Plowshares, so yeah, that's a pretty lucky draw. Let's go. Swords onto this thing so that we just don't have to worry about it. They gain 7 life there, but like I said, at least we don't have to worry about the thing. And then we'll go in for our companion as well. Just to give our stuff a buff and vigilance, we'll put the buff onto our double striker now. And if we give the +2 buff there, that'll be 7, that'll be 14. Yeah, we might be able to win this turn actually. Let's just swing in with these 2 creatures. We'll wait for first strike damage first. Yeah, our opponent decides to scoop it up there. If we give the +2 buff to our creature, that would have been 7 damage. Then put some more counters onto the Ghet, and that would have been a +4 buff. Yeah, I think we would have had them there. I can't work it out because I've been kicked out into the lobby immediately. But yeah, I think we might have had them there. We just had to take into account the first strike and then the double strike damage. But yeah, that seemed like it was a pretty quick one. So I think we'll be able to cram another one in on this video. Arahbo Roar of the World with companion Kaheera the Orphanguard versus Rielle the Everwise. Well, it's a pretty good hand actually. We've got lands and we've got cheap cats. That's pretty much all we want in this deck. So what do we go for on turn 1? Probably the Wild Cattle, don't we? So we go for Cavern of Souls, naming cat, and hope that the the Izzet player doesn't scoop on us. After seeing the Cavern of Souls, not sure how many counter spells we're going to see in this deck. I haven't seen a 1v1 variant yet. Then it's a Wasteland for our opponent, and yeah, apparently they don't like the look of Cavern of Souls, so they want to get rid of that immediately. This gets a buff on plains, doesn't it? Yeah, obviously we don't have mountains in this deck. But let's go like that into the Leonin Elder, and we just need to try and outrace our opponent at this point. Arabelle obviously goes onto the creature that can actually attack, and then we hit our opponent for 5, and hopefully we can outrace them. Especially when they decided to go down a land. Then them getting down a tap land bodes well for us. Let's shock down the Temple Garden and we'll go Bronzehide Lion. And we're probably going in for our companion next turn to really lay down as much hurt as we possibly can. And then between these two, it doesn't really matter which one we put the buff on. We need to attack in with both of them. Okay, just holding up mana. Our opponent, let's swing in first. And we'll just have to put up with the fact that we're missing some damage. If we decide to go for our companion next turn, I might actually just not play into any counter magic and continue to swing in with all this stuff. Might actually be worth holding up the Heroic Intervention. We've already got our opponent down to 10. Alright, there's a Snap Mage. Yeah, I mean, it's better than Snap Mage into Mana Drain or Lightning Bolt, something like that. And now they're going for Rielle as well. So it's a case of trying to go wide on them at this point. We can comfortably swing into Snapcaster. No matter what they block with, they're going to lose it. So I say we go for a tap land here. And then we're probably getting down our Kaheera. Okay, Prowling Serpapard is actually more tempting. Yeah, Prowling Serpapard makes sense against these colours. So let's go like that. So that creature spells we control can't be countered. And then we'll put a buff on the Leonin Elder so that the Snapcaster Mage can't kill it off. And now, no matter how they block, we're not going to lose any creatures. Deciding to block the 2/2, curiously. Alright, and then, yeah, that's the least amount of damage that they could take. Yeah, that's much better. So, they only take 3, they lose the Snap Mage. And they go down to 7. Now it's a Bazaar of Baghdad from our opponent. That's a really good one. But they go Burning Inquiry first. So, Bazaar of Baghdad actually won't do anything for them now. When I first started playing this, I didn't realise that it only cares about the first discard each turn. So they have discarded at random a Forgotten Cave, a Mana Confluence, and a Force of Negation. That's good to get rid of. We've got a wasteland of our own, so it might be worth us wastelanding one of their red sources. We can repay them in kind with our own wasteland. Alright, a trained Caracal. Let's see if we can get them to float some mana. We'll go after their steam vents. Okay, and they're going for draw 2 and discard 3. And they can do that on our turn, so they'll still get the discard trigger with Rielle, because it's a new turn now. So this will be the first time that they've discarded on this turn. They've discarded Wonder to give their... Oh, that's clever. So they're obviously going for a means of getting commander damage off and getting some evasion on their commander. See if they bother to float the blue. Alright, they're just tapping out into a Thrill of Possibility, so we've encouraged them to not hold up counter magic if they even had any. And then they decide to scoop. I think we were going wide on them. If we put the +3 on here, then I think that would have been the most damage from there. So then it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. +1/+1 on everything from this we would have played, and then we would have gotten down the trained Caracal. So yeah, that wasteland on turn 1 didn't seem to do them much good. I know they were fearful of the Cavern of Souls, but I don't know if they even had any counter magic in hand really, other than Force of Negation, which doesn't care about creatures. So I don't know, they had a lot of cards in hand, so maybe they could have countered some of our creatures, but it turns out that we had the Prowling Serpapard anyway, so pretty good against a Izzet deck, I think. Managed to outrace the deck that wants to last quite a while. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this one. I think these were a good couple of games to showcase how good Arabelle is in 1v1. So leave a thumbs up if you want to see more from this deck, and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest videos. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.